the Body Punch Podcast. My name is Naz. Saturday, October 10th card is a perfect example on why we should watch every single UFC or MMA event. It's one of the gifts / curses when being an MMA fan. You have to watch everything because there could be some gems in every single card. There's always that one fight that shows up on a card that you had no idea who the fighters are or what they're all about, and they do something spectacular. Now, after the fact, I'm saying this, that, you got to watch everything and all this kind of stuff. But when you really look at this card and see who's fighting on it, like Marlon Moraes and Cory Sandhagen, you know that something special is going to happen. And it's so funny because the cards that are hyped up, everybody's talking about them. The UFC and the media is pumping a lot of PR money into it. Sometimes those aren't the ones that deliver. And look here. On a regular Saturday, we see this kind of card. There wasn't one fight on this card where I was looking at it and I was kind of bored. Because let's be honest, you can be a hardcore fan, you can be casual, you can find technical aspects of each fight that you could be into. Like, I really enjoy the Wonder Boy and Woodley fight because of the technical aspects that it had. But a lot of people found it boring. I found it boring as well. Because we're all looking for the same thing. We're watching two people in a cage fighting each other to see something spectacular. To see the pinnacle of humans in sports. And I think fighting is that. It's at the pinnacle of human athletic ability. They're the hardest working athletes. And that's why we watch. That's why we all watch. We watch to see something spectacular. And no matter who you are, you're always going to find the same things kind of interesting. And that's what we all do when we watch fight cards like this. Now, for the people that actually tuned in for this one, man, they got a treat. It was on ESPN Plus, but in Canada, we got to watch it for free. So, I mean, you can't complain about that. Now, I want to talk about the Marlon Moraes and Cory Sandhagen fight because it has massive implications. But before we start that, we can't go over the fact on what Buckley did. That was an amazing kick. Or, they're saying that it's a Taekwondo kick, and I don't know what it was, but I'm not a Taekwondo expert or anything, but I know when I see something that is amazing. What he did there to get that amount of power in a kick like that is crazy, because I wouldn't expect it. Because instead of getting the power straight from the ground, from having that center of gravity on the ground and generating the power like that, he generated the power from his spin and KO'd him. And right when he KO'd him, you knew that this is going to be viral. Everybody's going to be talking about it. And that's what happened. Dana White was singing his praises all over social media. People were posting about it. I was seeing people that don't even watch fights see that knockout and sending it to everybody. And they were so hype about it. That's what I love about this sport. There's just spectacular moments that happen. But if we watch the whole fight, there's some crazy moments in that as well. Because there's some fighters that you see that have these flashy knockouts, have all this flash kind of KOs and stuff. You sometimes sit there and watch them and you think to yourself that, okay, great, you did that, but do you have the technical ability to go against someone with a lot more skills in the higher, rankings? And Buckley demonstrated that in the first round. He was putting it on. And I believe he was an underdog as well. Just has that power. He has that thing that I keep on talking about. He's able to conserve his energy. I'm not sure if he's able to go all 5 rounds, if he's in a 5-round bout. But he looked fresh after hitting the gas pedal in the first. It looked like at any moment he could have knocked him out with his hands, bobbing and weaving, hitting him with those tree trunk legs. And I think the fight could have gone either way at the end of the first. Not in terms of scoring. I think Buckley won the first. But in terms of he was putting himself out there. He wasn't scared of getting knocked out. And to have the guts to throw something like that, because if you think about it, if he misses that, he's on his back. He fell on the ground. Both of his legs are up in the air, and he's going to fall on the ground. He's giving up position. But he's so confident in himself. He's like, why not? I'll throw it. I trained this back home, and let's just try it in a fight. And think about it. You got a middleweight flying in the air like that? That's crazy. That looks like a flyweight move. But he was able to pull it off. And it helps because the knockout was so emphatic. The camera angle was great because you saw his opponent just kind of fall to the ground with his expression on his face. Like, what happened to me? He doesn't know where he is. And just to walk off like that, it's great. And it just emphasizes, I think it emphasizes the knockout. Now, is this the greatest knockout in MMA history? I don't think so, because a lot of people are saying that the moment doesn't count. But I really believe that the moment really counts in a knockout, because it adds to the story. Like look at Conor McGregor's knockout with Jose Aldo. I think the moment counted in that, because it was for a championship bout. And I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a whole tour with Conor and Jose Aldo going all across the world and talking smack to each other. And after the Chad Mendes fight, Conor McGregor jumped the cage and he wanted that Jose Aldo fight so badly. It was a big grudge match. So I think the moment counts when it comes to having the greatest knockout in MMA history, because I don't think the greatest knockouts, if you're not counting the moment, I don't think they happen in the UFC. We've seen some crazy knockouts overseas. There's some Indian organizations that have some crazy knockouts. Bellator has some crazy knockouts. One championship has some amazing knockouts. So I don't think it's, if you're not counting the moment, I don't think it's the best knockout. But I really count the moment when it comes to a knockout or a win, because that pressure and all that kind of stuff, it really affects a fighter. So this was amazing. This is knockout of the year. This is the best knockout in the UFC history, not counting the moment. So I do give it that. It's just the moment was not there for me. But greatest knockout in of the year. I don't think, if anything beats this, it's got to be so amazing. But we all got to remember recency bias as well. You know, I'm not saying that I'm having recency bias because that knockout was so amazing to give a knockout of the year. But if something else happens, like another crazy knockout, we can't forget about this one because of how spectacular it was. So, like I said, crazy knockout. I think Buckley will be able to get a man. He's got. This is the thing about the UFC or any MMA organization. Yeah, you did something amazing now, but the next guy up is going to be even more difficult. It doesn't get easier; it gets harder. So I can't wait to see if he's ready for that step up in competition. He's still very young at 26. And he looked great in this fight. So moving on. This is a massive fight with Marlon Moraes and Cory Sandhagen, because the stakes are here. Because look at this. Cory Sandhagen got beat, bad by Aljo. And this is his kind of redemption, because what happens in MMA is that you could be on a crazy win streak, but once you get beat, and the next fight that you have after that really determines how UFC fans and UFC as an organization kind of will deal with you for the rest of your career. Because once you if you lose your next fight, then the UFC is going to be like, okay, this guy's kind of washed. So this is a big step for Cory, because he's fighting a killer in Marlon, a guy that knocks out people like crazy. He's up there. Some people were saying that he should have fought for the belt after the Jose Aldo fight. So this guy, he's no slouch. And Cory Sandhagen has to go after him. He has to be the aggressor. And that's what he did. He's very big for the weight division that he's in the 135-pound weight division. And he used that length and that reach, because in the second round, he got him with an amazing knockout as well. That was in a high pressure situation, because now he's got the chips back in his corner. He can call out a lot of people. I love the call out that he had with TJ Dillashaw. We'll talk about that in a bit. But the knockout that he had was spectacular. Spinning kick to the head, grazed him on the top. We've seen him many of times where even if you graze your opponent, it's still going to affect them. And that's what happened to Marlon Moraes. I feel bad for him. He changed camps. I believe he's with American Top Team now. And Luke Thomas was talking about this, and I totally agree with him, that you change camps, but are you used to that camp yet? Are you used to that head coach? Can you work with that team? And that's the question that I have about Moraes. Is he used to his new team? I think we saw flashes of greatness, but it was very much vintage Marlon Moraes. It's just that we got a vintage Sandhagen performance. He didn't get crushed by the moment that he was in. He was under a lot of pressure, and he was smooth. He was a smooth operator out there against a guy that will knock your lights out in a second. There's no way that if you don't get clipped, like if you get clipped by Marlon Moraes, you're going out. He's so powerful for that 135-pound division. And Cory Sandhagen just took it, smooth, was calm, was hitting him with a bunch of strikes, and not pressing the brakes at any time. He was just going at him. And to have that killer instinct, to go for that finishing move, it was great to see. Now, the call out that he had with TJ Dillashaw, that's the main one I'm going to focus on, because I think that's a great fight because both parties get something out of that. Cory gets one of the greatest of all time in the 135-pound division, and then Dillashaw gets to test his mettle against one of the greats in the 135-pound division currently. He's ranked number 4 at the moment, but I'm sure that he's going to move up. So it's a great opportunity for Dillashaw to test his mettle against one of the better fighters in the 135-pound division. So I don't see why either one of those would deny this fight. And DC was talking about how Dillashaw was planning to come back at 125. I don't see that. Ariel Helwani brought it up perfectly. He said this whole mess with TJ Dillashaw started in the 125-pound division. Why would he go back there? So I think this Cory fight is perfect for him for his return. Cory's going to be ready. Dillashaw's going to be ready. This is a great fight for both of them. And kudos for him for seizing the moment. But the whole night, I think the happiest person was Aljo. Because Aljo was able to say to everybody, look, the guy that I beat just beat Marlon Moraes. That shows how great I am. So that kind of, I think it just pumps up Aljamain Sterling. And there's no way that you can deny him the fight against Petr Yan. That fight needs to happen. That fight needs to happen. But to determine who's after that, I think Cory Sandhagen and TJ Dillashaw have to fight. That's a perfect fight. So both of these guys that I just talked about, they seized the moment. They took what they needed to take, and they weren't scared. There's a bunch of other great fights on the card. Shout out to Edson Barbosa. That was a super close fight. I mean, it was decision. Sorry, that wasn't. I was thinking of something else. But Edson Barbosa, having a great fight. I mean, Amir Khani is. He's not. I don't think he's ranked, but it's tough because Edson's coming into a new weight division. Coming into a brand new weight division. He's a killer in 155. And he's got to be able to adjust to this weight class. I think after maybe one more fight, then we'll get Edson Barbosa back where he was. He is getting older. It's going to be tough for him. But I think this is a great way for him to get a quick route to the championship, because featherweight is a little less deep than 155. So great win for him. Tybura, great win for him because he got a win over a veteran in the sport in Ben Rothwell. I was surprised. This is one of those fights where at the beginning I was like, man, like Ben Rothwell, I think he might put it on Tybura. But it kind of shows you that the modern MMA game is just advancing at a higher clip. Ben Rothwell being that veteran, doing amazing stuff for the sport. Hopefully he gets back soon and get back on track. Everybody loves Ben Rothwell, so yeah, and a bunch of other great fights, like I mentioned. Great night of fights, amazing to see, and it's amazing to see on free TV in Canada, so that always helps. So thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time. If you guys could like, subscribe, rate, do all that good stuff on the different platforms, that means a lot. Like I said, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for taking the time out of your day. This has been the Body Punch Podcast. My name is Naz. Bye.